It is overtime here at Old Favorite Friday, and I have brought on Joel Codner to continue the conversation about Matilda from Goose Island. This beer has actually been on my radar a long time. I've wanted to do this beer for a while, but funny enough, it's been at the Total Wine and More that I typically shop at to pick up these beers, but I am so old school that I only remember this beer being in 750s. So I was always looking on the 750 shelf trying to find it. I was like, oh man, they don't have Matilda anymore. I didn't know if it was still in production. Lo and behold, bottom shelf, the Goose Island area, Matilda's right there. And I'm happy that we were able to try this beer. It is a Belgian pale ale it's brewed with Brettanomyces, so it is a wild beer. Brettanomyces is kind of a wild ale yeast. Typically really funky and sour, but is this beer funky and sour, Joel?
It's funky, and I think on that first whiff of the aroma that you take, you think like, oh man, we're going in sour territory, but it's actually not at all, and it is just beautiful. So glad to be revisiting this one with you. You know, I'm from Chicago, so I do enjoy Goose Island 312 from time to time. And you know, a lot of people who have beer geeks, if you will, who may turn their nose up at Goose Island because of their AB ownership, maybe not realize that we are fortunate to get this in Florida because of that. You know, because they've been able to scale up and produce these things at such large scale, and I'm thrilled to be trying it again.
You bring up a really good point, and that is talking about the sale, right? So I can't remember how long ago it was, but
for 10 years, I think.
Okay, so sold to AB. There is a perception that immediately quality suffers, and that's just not really true. You can scale up these recipes and really, really make great beer. Bourbon County Stout, I think, is still an incredible beer. We have not done that for Old Favorite Friday. A lot of it is not being able to get your hands on it from time to time, but a beer like this, in my recollection, and I've drank this beer over many years before the sale, and it's still as good as it ever was because it's made expertly and they know what they're doing with this product. So a sale to a large macro brewery does not necessarily destroy the quality of every single beer they produce. That's a myth. That's just kind of ridiculous.
Totally the opposite.
and if you want to still, go against the grain and say, hey, listen, I don't want to support, that's up to you. But we're not in that camp. We want to drink great beer, and this is a great beer. We are a Belgian-inspired brewery. This is a Belgian pale ale. It hits those notes. It's got clove. It's got phenols. It's got a nice malt bill for it. I mean, it has a really nice, beautiful golden color. And a lot of times you see in a beer this style, you're going to be more like that straw color. So there's a malt balance here that's really nice.
Yeah, the color really took me back to, my early days in craft beer when it was pale this and pale that, and IPAs were very much this color instead of that, golden kind of like on the label that they are now. If you were to look up pale in the beer dictionary, this is pale, and it's beautiful. I've said before with beers like this, they kind of remind me of the Jurassic Park mosquito in the amber. I mean, it's just beautiful and glowing and crystal clear, just a really nice, well-balanced beer.
Yeah, it's great. And the Brettanomyces is so well done and so well placed. It doesn't dominate the flavor profile. This is a kind of beer that if you are into wild ales and you're trying to get somebody else into wild ales, this is a perfect beer for that because it gives you that barnyard funk, which is a good thing, by the way. That's what they're going for. I know some people that watch this video are going to go barnyard, horse blanket. They hear these terms, they think we're crazy. But there's this funkiness that comes out of Brettanomyces without getting all the sourness and without just being the dominant flavor profile. There's malt flavors in here. There's yeast flavors in addition to the Brettanomyces, which really rounds this beer out and makes something delicious. I have to think they were thinking a little bit about Orval.
Possibly, yeah. Right?
Because Orval is the classic Trappist beer that has some Brett in it, that is a pale ale. Is Orval a pale ale?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is. This is at 7%, by the way. Does not drink like 7%. Drinks like about 4.5. I feel like you could crush this beer.
But, between everything you just said about it being approachable and then, not drinking like that alcohol content, I mean, this is like ironically a gateway beer for people who want something a little bit more complex, but are afraid to maybe, get into some of these wild beers. And it's honestly kind of hilarious that you can have this sort of complexity and flavor and all the different nuances of it, and have that alcohol content and still be so like just utterly approachable.
Yeah, and I mean, it's elegant beer, right? It's called Matilda. It's got a beautiful, simplistic, old school kind of font and presentation.
Love the minimalism.
I just love the package. It talks and kind of speaks to like classic wines and things of that nature, which I'm sure they were going for. And this beer, I couldn't find an exact production date of this, but I saw that it was entered in Beer Advocate in 2003. This is a 20-year-old product, at least. It might have been made a little bit beforehand, or maybe it was just at the brewery beforehand. But this is a 20-year-old beer, still absolutely delicious, expertly made, a gateway beer. I mean, what else can you say about it? It's absolutely wonderful.
I think we've said it all. I mean, might as well stop talking and keep drinking it. But no, just to tag on to what you were saying, like I love minimalism in labels. I feel like a lot of times we overthink the label and the name because we want hype and we want people talking about it and word of mouth, and we want it to stand out on the shelf. But there's also an elegance in its simplicity, and I think that it is as beautiful on the outside as it is on the inside.
That was perfect. Did you plan that line?
I did not.
Off the top of your head. This is why we have Joel on here. I highly recommend that you go and pick this beer up if you can find it. Mostly specialty stores, I would imagine. It does come in 6-packs, so be on the lookout for that if you're an old school guy like me and you're used to seeing it in 750s. But you're really going to enjoy it. It's a great beer to introduce other people to the world of wild ales. And please poke around on our YouTube channel. Give us a like, subscribe, do all those things that you know to do, so you can see more and more content like this for us talking about absolutely incredible beers and fawning over them like children. And we really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.